Okay, we are live. Good evening. We are returning from our executive session a little bit late. We ran over at 7:10. It is Thursday, June 22nd. This is our open meeting, school committee meeting for the last meeting of the school year. And please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so there were no requests for public comment to be called in, and there is no one here from the public. So we will move on. There is no recognition this evening, but we do have consent agenda minutes from June 6th.
So I'll move to approve the minutes of June 8th, 2023 as presented in the packet.
I'll second.
And is there discussion? Ready to vote? Ms. Koenig?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Great. Our student representatives are not here. It's very sad, but understandable. They are on summer break, and I hope wherever they are and whatever they're doing, they are enjoying themselves and resting and having good fun that they have earned. I can't wait to join them. We'll move right on to the superintendent's report.
Really just a couple items. One is, last time I was here, I was talking about high school graduation, but it was a real joy to go to the promotion ceremony over at the middle school and to see the families. It was a nice day outside. And I know there were a lot of clap outs and other events across all the schools. So I just wish everyone a good summer. Check out the reading list and summer reading. Check out the Stevens Memorial Library site as well. And don't forget, this Saturday is the bike rodeo.
The bike rodeo.
The Atkinson School, sponsored by the Lawrence General Hospital, the North Andover Police Department, the North Andover Fire Department, and Cheryl Barzak will be involved as well. So really exciting, and check it out. And really, that's it for the superintendent's report.
Great. Okay, moving on to the chair's report. Actually, I'm going to ask Mr. Devitt to update us on the Educator Hall of Fame.
All right. So I'm going to pass these out. I think we have enough. Yeah, Marcy. Thank you. So I think this is now going to be linked to the agenda. It may not have been linked before. So very quickly, the Educator Hall of Fame Selection Committee met on the 15th of June. Again, representatives are from the North Andover Teachers Association, Jane Broderick, who's a teacher at the Kittredge. Alyssa Koenig joined us from the school committee. Mr. Greg Landry, OC administration representative. And then a member at large, North Andover resident, was Mary Helen Paradise, who is also a English teacher at the high school, and then myself. And so we met, we went through the recommendations that were there, and the committee actually made the decision to put forward two names. So in most years, we have nominated one person, but after reading the testimonials, and I'm sure Alyssa will speak as well, we really felt that the two representatives, or the two of them, there were more than two, but these two really stood out in the pack. As part of the policy, we have notified both people. Well, I shouldn't say both people. We have notified one of them that their name would be put forward tonight, and she was enthusiastic and unbelievably humbled, and it was a wonderful conversation. And then the other person has actually is deceased. I think end of September 2021, Dr. Gilligan had an opportunity to actually go by the home of his widow, and that family was unbelievably thrilled. But our two recommendations are for Mr. Anthony Reynolds, who was an English teacher at the high school. He retired, I believe, in 1979.
1997.
What did I say?
79.
What did I say, 97?
You
You
said
said 79, it was 97. You just
Oh,
flipped the
sorry,
numbers.
okay, yeah, just mixed them up.
You might have started it. Well, no, but long by that.
No, because I think he was almost a 30-year teacher. I'm not sure if all 30 were here. I think he started in New Hampshire. And Judy Negrelli, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and she was mostly at the middle school, but did an awful lot with special education and reading and intervention for that. So included in the packet, I didn't modify a lot. There were some screenshots that kind of came in, so I kind of put them in so that you kind of saw the context that they were coming from. Part of the reason that I think both of these people were put forward were, when we looked at the records and the comments about Mr. Reynolds, how much he inspired students in high school. And I reached out to somebody in town, Rosemary Smedili, and one of them, and her quote was really kind of funny. She said, "He just made the classics come alive." But every comment that we've kind of heard about him and his style was just so inspiring for that. And when we were reading about Judy, and you can kind of see that as well, I talked to another kind of group of people as well, just to kind of get a little bit of litmus. I think the thing that was so overwhelming was she taught me to read. And for so many kids who may struggle, to have that adult inspire them to do that, I think the selection committee really thought we couldn't pick one of the two. We had to put both of them forward. So, Alyssa, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, I'll just add that I think we were really touched by, especially the past students who made these comments about what a difference these educators made in their lives, and some of these stories were really heartwarming, and I think that sentiment was shared upon the selection committee, and I think we're really honored to have this level of educators in our community at one point or another that have taught and have left a legacy. So I'm happy with our choice, and I'm happy that these are moving forward as our selections.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
I know the policy says we are allowed to do two, and last time we talked about this, since that in the years past, if two had been nominated, that maybe the next year there wasn't anybody, and I think perhaps because there is two such strong candidates, we should value that, and then next year take it as it is. If there's, again, only one or maybe two, that we just make that decision at the time and not preclude ourselves from making that decision. And then just a mechanics question. Last year, this is just for clarification, last year we had the names presented at one meeting, and we did then have to have a second meeting to do
Correct.
to do the voting part. That is the plan.
Still the plan.
Still a plan. So but
Unless
we
there
won't
was
do
a
that
motion,
until
but-
August 15, but that's still the plan.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I'm reading this correctly, but 2011, we had two that came forward, and then we did not take a year off. 2014, we had two. We did take a year off. And then, is that 2019? Yeah, 2019, we had two, and thank you,
Great.
whoever's doing that. Old eyes. 2019, we had two, and then we continued with one per year after that. So I think we've kind of looked to who the candidates were for that. And I remember very early on someone saying, well, we're going to run out of classrooms. And what an awful problem to have if we run out of classrooms to honor educators who have had an impact in our community. But I don't think
We are years away
we
from
are
that.
years away from that. And the school committee in 21, 23 can figure that one out.
Can you remind me of, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Of course, yeah.
Can you remind me how the nominations come to be? Like
Yeah.
how do they get solicited? I guess
Yep.
that's the right question.
So we actually had a conversation about that as well. So it's here, and there's a couple of links that are there. They can be submitted electronically, And then there's a form that can be populated. Some people may not be as tech savvy, and so may not want to fill something out and may wish to do something in hand. So they can be filled out electronically, filled out on paper, and then mailed in. So there's a nominator, and then there has to be two people who basically support that nomination. And then we look for a letter or reference, I guess is probably the best way, for somebody who supervised that person. And so, to be honest, Dr. Gilligan was very helpful in terms of, finding somebody who had supervised Mr. Reynolds, because, like I said, he'd been retired for a number of years.
Since 1997.
So finding somebody who could write that recommendation, we found him.
You did
But
some
that's-
investigation.
That's all we have to say.
Yeah.
We found
Yeah.
him.
I guess part of my question, though, had more to do with how do people become aware that this is something they could do,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, do we reach out to alumni or anything like that, or is there some process where, like, if I graduated from North Andover in 1972,
Yep.
say, how would I even know this existed?
So there is a group, and it's not just men, but they call it the Romeo Club, retired old men eating out, but it also includes women. And they go once or twice a month over to Methuen, where the golf is, Whirlaway. And they invite Dr. Mealy and I 3 or 4 times a year. And this is a group of the baby boomers who are now aging, who oftentimes, we remind them about, nominations are open. And there are a lot of the folks that names you see when these come in.
Yeah, and we did have a discussion of how we can make this more publicized to the community, and brainstorm several ideas. Hopefully we can implement those so that the community becomes more aware that these nominations are open and
Yeah.
advocate to people to make nominations.
I think I would love that. I think that would be great. This made me think about a couple of high school teachers of my own that had profound influences on me.
Mhm.
That I think I don't think my high school does this, which they should.
You're gonna go investigate.
I am now going to go investigate that.
I think we're the
But-
only one in the state that does it.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And what's special about it is the folks who have been involved in this on the school committee have been really thoughtful to have these folks recognized at the same night that teachers receive professional teaching status. So we are committing to teachers who are going to be with us, and at the same time, we honor these folks, and we invite the folks that are willing and able and still alive to come back on opening day to speak to our staff. And it's been very moving.
Yeah, it's a nice connection.
Yeah, it's cool. All right. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I think that's great.
Yeah,
Thank
but we do have some brainstorming ideas. I think we'll try to bring those back, and for perhaps another conversation. And I think when we have the professional teacher status ceremony, that kind of may spark some interest and excite some people, and social media, things of that nature will help with that.
I think that night is pretty unique to North Andover as well.
I'm not
Anyway,
aware of anyone
yeah.
else, but
I
that
mean,
doesn't.
and it's such a nice, it's a great night.
We also go down the studio and record, just a brief introduction. So like
Right.
the most recent candidate was Peter Kincannon.
Yeah.
So Pete, as he went by, like it's on Cam TV. We blasted it out before.
Yeah.
It's special. The
It's
message is
really
special.
nice. Yeah.
All right. So I guess I'll leave it a little bit to the committee. We tend to do, second meetings, which I'm totally fine with. Our next meeting will actually be our summer retreat, which is the only meeting we have that is not televised. So I don't know if we want to wait until our next meeting kind of that is televised to actually vote and give somebody an opportunity to speak on behalf of Mr. Reynolds or Ms. Negreri.
Is there no public comment at the summer meeting? I know it's not televised, but there.
It's not televised. Somebody could come, absolutely. I think we've had one person come in
Right.
11 years, so, and it's during the day. Typically, it's either morning or like 1 to 4 or something like
Right.
that. So,
Working session.
yeah,
So it's
Select
not
Board just
ideal.
had one last week.
yeah, they did. So my suggestion might be that we want to do it at a regular meeting, just to kind of put that out there. There's no rush in getting it done. There is a little bit of a rush in terms of the subcommittee kind of meeting and presenting the names back. I think that has to be within 60 days. And nominations close on April 30th, so we're tight on that. But there's no,
If I remember correctly, we've met the obligation of the policy to do
Yeah.
to have your meeting and to make the
Yeah.
selection, to move someone forward
Yeah.
within the time frame. So we're not violating anything if we wait till August or September.
And you know, I'm thinking of like sharing this with the public, because I'm sure a lot of people aren't familiar or aware that this is what's happening, but, and I know we post an agenda, but I also know not a lot of people pay attention to the agenda. We're all busy, but it would be, I wonder if we could share, you know, this part of the agenda earlier somehow to let people know, like, if there is somebody who wants to speak on their behalf, that's your opportunity to do that.
And if we wait till September 7th, that doesn't impact the induction ceremony that happens in middle of October anyway. We still have
Yeah.
plenty of time to.
Yeah.
Great.
The only, I'll just throw the one little wrench in. Sometimes we've had, you know, they speak at the induction ceremony, but sometimes they speak on opening day to staff.
It's the
It's
next
the following
person,
year.
it's the person
So
before.
Mr. Concanon will be speaking this year.
Got it, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I made that, yeah.
Because, okay,
I did the same thing.
I'm thinking, because Pete already spoke at the event, and then we did something for Cam TV.
Mm-hmm.
Got it, okay.
But and then he'll speak at opening.
Got
day.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any questions?
Thank you so much for all of this.
It was actually really fun.
Yeah.
Seems like a fun activity to do.
Yeah. So this should be linked to the agenda now. We didn't want to link it in advance. Again, we had a little bit of difficulty tracking down the family of Mr. Reynolds, but Dr. Gilligan may or may not have knocked on their door this afternoon and interrupted their afternoon, but
It was actually, it was lovely to see Sharon Reynolds, Anthony's wife, and his two sons were there, and one was up from South Carolina. So
Lovely.
I got to spend about a half an hour with them, and I had Mr. Reynolds as a student, and he was quite a teacher, so it was quite an honor to be able to go there and catch them while they were there. So
That's great. Okay, so next we have our committee reorganization, which again is going to you, Mr. McDevitt.
yes. All right, so just to kind of clarify a little bit for the public, and then we'll kind of answer any questions if anything kind of comes up. I actually chaired this part of the meeting. Per our policy, it's the longest serving. Coincidentally, not the oldest, but the longest serving. So this is our policy. In kind of looking at it, we may want to make some revisions or some modifications to that as we kind of go forward. We did have some questions about this last meeting as well. So I reached out to town council. I think everybody kind of got the memo for that. It's kind of ambiguous with like what we can do, what we can't do, like, you know, like, it is interesting as well because we're a small board. If we were a significantly larger board, like, you know, the chair can technically not second, right? But the chair, because we're 5 people and I'm still a voting member, I can second, I can actually nominate. But I thought the easiest thing for us to be able to do is kind of follow pretty much the process that we have here, have nominations for the office of chairperson made, it's in front of me, I don't know why I'm looking at the camera, but, or the screen, and then we would accept nominations for that, and then I thought if there were more than one for any of the chair, vice chair, or clerk, we would vote for a person, not necessarily be voting against somebody else.
So not one person at a time. Names are on the board.
Right.
So our roll call is like putting in his name.
Your roll call would be
Your
like,
vote. Okay.
Correct.
yes.
Yep.
All right. So, for the position of chair, I would open up nominations.
I will nominate Mr. Brown for chair.
All right. Is there a second? I will second that. Do you accept?
Sure.
I'd like to make a nomination for Mr. Hicks.
Okay, sorry. I keep messing up your initials. Sorry, is there a second?
Well, in the interest of fairness, I think I'll second it.
Okay, I was gonna second if you didn't, so.
Me too.
All right, any other nominations? There's only 5 of us, so. All right, there's no speeches or anything, so I'll start, Mr. Hicks?
Mr. Hicks?
Okay. Ms. Coney?
Mr. Hicks.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown?
Ms. Petrowski, sorry.
It's okay. Mr. Brown.
Okay, deciding vote. I am gonna go Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
So you continue with the rest
No.
of the.
No,
he takes over.
Nope,
oh,
you are
me.
the chair.
okay,
all right.
Item number 2.
so
You don't need to move seats. You can
Just
throw
give him the gavel.
don't hit me on the head with it.
It's not Helen's meat
There you go.
tenderizer.
Okay. All right, so following this, it'll be nominations for vice chair, correct?
I would nominate Mr. Hicks.
I'll second that.
Anyone else? Okay,
I assume you accept.
I do.
Okay.
all right, so roll call vote, I guess I'll go clockwise. Ms. Petrowski?
So now I'm just saying a yes or a no because there's only one person,
Correct.
right? Okay, yes.
Yes. Yeah, yes, sorry.
Okay, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so is Mr. Hicks? I assume you accept.
Yeah, well, I accept the nomination, so I think I have to now.
Congratulations.
All right, is there any, clerk, need a nomination for clerk.
Oh, I nominate Ms. Koenig.
I'll second.
I was gonna second that. I'll forward that. Forward it.
Okay, quick point of information. What, who takes the notes for
Ms. McHugh watches back the meeting, or she's watching right now, and she does the minutes for regular meetings. The
Okay.
clerk does the chair takes notes as well.
Yeah, the clerk will do the executive, and
And
then
the
I
executive.
always found it helpful for myself to take my own notes, especially about nominations or
Votes.
votes and who seconds and whatnot. There's been a few times where Michelle's like, hey, did you get this?
So you have
So-
two sources of
Sure.
data you can
Yeah.
compare. Okay.
But the clerk does the executive session.
Correct.
If there was ever a working session, non-televised, the clerk would take the notes.
Yes.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
Michelle came last year.
That's right, she
She
did.
did. We both did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to continue our vote. So we have 1 yes, 2 yes. Mr. Hicks, this is for clerk.
I don't think we
We didn't
voted.
vote.
We didn't vote.
We
None of
didn't
us
vote.
voted yet.
Sorry?
Oh,
That's
did-
okay.
Did she accept?
Did
Yeah.
you accept?
I accept.
Okay,
Was
excellent.
there a second? Did you
Yes,
guys-
we all
Yes.
seconded.
We all seconded.
There were multiple seconds. But I think Pam was the first one in, so we're gonna give her the credit. Okay, and the nomination was, just my notes,
Mr. Hicks nominated her.
okay. All right, so now we can vote. Assuming there's no discussion. Anybody want to discuss that? All right, great.
Yes.
Pam, yes.
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 Yes. It would be really funny if you said no.
I think it'd be rather appropriate to this one.
Just to mess with me. Okay, all right, so that's, I think we're reorganized. So next, we can continue this agenda, right?
Yep.
All
In
right,
charge.
all right, September to
great.
December, proposed meeting dates.
I will say, Michelle just put those out. We'll start to plan different events for the schools, like, open house, that kind of thing, and it's important for us to do that now. If you don't know tonight, that's okay. Just, this was the first crack at it.
Sure.
Okay. And these are just holidays of note for our reference down here? Right, the bottom of the page? Yeah.
Yep.
And we tend to try to get our dates in half-year increments, because school calendars will start to fill up with as Dr. Gilligan said, open houses and concerts and things like that. And we know we can't do everything, but we do try to not, or we try to, if we have our dates established, try to not have like open houses on those nights.
Or if we have it, it's not the high school open house where one time 4 out of the 5 members had
Yeah.
high school students.
Right. Okay.
Is it typical that I feel like we had one additional meeting in December, and that's just, maybe we didn't have the one in the second one, the 3rd of November then.
I think you might be right on that for December.
But it's 3 November, so
We
we
have
should be okay.
3 in November.
Oh,
The
okay.
30th is usually,
Yeah.
that varies. Sometimes it's like December 1st or 2nd.
Right.
And when's Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is the
22nd to the 24th.
23rd.
Okay, so that's not close to the 30th.
No, it's in between the 2 meetings.
Okay.
We don't have one the night before Veterans Day, correct? No,
Veterans Day is observed
on Friday the
the
10th.
10th. Correct.
So the dates look good.
Nothing.
We still have remote capability. I think that's been extended until
2 more years, I think.
24, right? So, so that's always there. And again, we try to put these out. We've tried to do Thursdays in part because of CAM, and other, like the select board, I think is typically Monday, and I forget when FinCom is. So that kind of just makes it a little bit easier, but we're not tied to Thursday. So like if, for example, like somebody's birthday's October 5th or something like that, like we could in theory, not that you don't want to spend your birthday with us, but, we could, move that or, do whatever, so.
Well, that happens that Thursday, December 14th
Is that your birthday?
is my birthday. But as somebody once said, you should really be honoring your parents on your birthday. It should be about them.
You honor them through your service.
Right. But I don't know. I don't want to mess with the schedule for that. It's fine.
And what's good for us is, really, you think about it. It was just not this spring, but the spring before, they were voting on taking masks off.
Right.
We've got a regular year under our belt, and when we get these set, it gives us the ability to plan to do what we've always done in the first couple of years prior to COVID, to be able to have a meeting at a school, and sometimes we adjust the times a little bit, but not a lot, so looking forward to it.
Are we gonna be doing meetings at schools?
Doing what?
Meetings at schools, I think that had been brought up before.
We've talked about that.
Yeah,
Well, we wouldn't do all,
yeah.
for different events to highlight some of the work that they're doing within the school. So, we've done, we'll probably go down the high school for robotics first. Then, we try to vary it. Sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge for CAM, depending on the setup of the school. Schools have different setups, but we wouldn't hit all the schools, but we would definitely get a few in.
So that's a practice we used to do and hadn't done since COVID, basically.
We'd usually get to at least 2 or 3 schools a year.
Yeah.
Oh, we have, okay.
I don't think we didn't this year, but
We did not this year.
last year we had all those meetings at the Kittredge and the middle school.
We've done some at the senior center,
Yeah.
like if we've done the budget and.
Yeah, we did, I think a math program at Sargent.
Just thought of something because you mentioned the senior center. Somewhere in December, I imagine we might have a tri-board meeting again too, correct?
Mhm.
Or is that will that be in lieu of or in addition to?
It's typically one of those nights, or it could be adjusted. We don't know
Okay.
when that will be. It typically depends on the budget, so
Right.
it will depend on, we put 3 meetings in, knowing one will be the tri-board. That's also during budget season is a time where we have to, I think, flexibility to say we might need another meeting, depending on what's happening. And the good news is, it used to kind of be, would come back right from break. You'd be back like one day and would have the superintendent's recommended budget, but it's been falling more of that second week, which is even better. So we could, we have time. I think under the charter, you have to approve a budget by February 4th or something like that.
So the tri-board meeting would probably be one of those November dates or possibly an extra date? Is that the bottom?
November or December?
I feel like it's early
I
December.
feel like it was early
December.
December, and
Yeah.
I think we did it on a Monday.
Yeah.
When that's when
Yeah,
normal
we're getting
select
a
board
thumbs
meeting.
up.
We're getting a
from
thumbs up
Cam.
from Cam, okay.
Yeah.
Good job.
And we typically do that in the senior center because the room is just bigger and it allows.
All three boards.
Yeah,
All
three
boards.
boards is, and, you know, town
And
I'll be
manager
walking
and
walking to
stuff,
the
and
senior center this year,
it'll be, you know.
Oh, that's
at least
right.
one
Be the
people.
new senior center.
That's right.
the new
You
senior
will be,
center.
yes.
Yeah.
All of us?
Yeah, I haven't been in.
Better.
Yeah.
Hope so.
No
I
kidding.
can walk, you can walk there.
One of the
I can-
things
Yeah, I
we,
can walk there.
I
We can all
think,
walk there.
I think one of the
Yeah.
things
I
we
can
could,
walk, I could walk too.
one of the things we could do too is we could always have an executive session if needed before the tri-board meeting, and we could, if we had any agenda items, we could also have a brief public meeting or a shorter, and then go to the tri-board.
So it's probably in addition to this list,
I think
Probably.
so.
most likely,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Because we'll have to wait for the select board and FinCom and the budget process to kind of work itself out too.
Okay. All right. So, do we need to approve these, or it's just advisory?
You don't vote on the dates typically.
Yeah, we don't, it's just more informational, and then, again, like, you might say, really got a serious conflict on December 14th, is there any way we can do
Yeah.
the 7th?
If you ask Jamie, no. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So we're done with that. School committee, next is school building committee updates. And now let's hear about NAMS. That's Mr. Hicks.
We haven't met since April, when we met to go over the bid alternatives. I think Dr. Mealy said 20, both general and subcontractors, came to contractor day to do the walkthrough as part of the bid process. We meet on July 18 to award the bid. And again, we have some bid alternatives that happen, that they get bid on, and hopefully the price is where we can then afford to do all of those, or some of them, they are prioritized in order. One of the things we were able to do was condense the timeline from what was 24 months down to 18. So although we'll be starting a smidge late, we'll be finishing a little early. And the general timeline is this coming school year, site work and addition being built, and the following school year, addition being used to then do all the renovations and mechanical updates on the rest of the building, so that by the 3 years from now, when my kids are in 8th grade, everything is done. So 6th grade, I have it mapped out in my head. 6th grade is renovated, is 1, 2, 3, yeah. So that's where we're at. So July 18, we'll be able to award the bid and get started. Hopefully, as soon as they can mobilize and get their ducks in a row and get things happening.
Great. Any questions on that? Okay. Now Kittredge. I know you have good news about Kittredge.
Yeah, I'll actually defer to Dr. Gilligan, because you were in the meeting with MSBA on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Yesterday.
Yeah. Dr. Mealy and I traveled down to Boston to attend the MSBA board meeting in person, and I was grateful and thankful to be there, to be able to present how important the Kittredge project is to North Andover. So I was able to give some input. They voted unanimously to fund the feasibility study, a portion of the feasibility study. So we won feasibility study approval yesterday at MSBA. I'm glad we were there in person. Lori Burzlaff represented the town online on Zoom, and our commute was a little bit less than the folks that came in person from Martha's Vineyard, which had to get 6 towns to agree, moving forward for a new high school.
Right.
But it's really exciting, and with the feasibility study, that will determine what the school could look like for the Kittredge. So.
And I was just gonna say, we have our next meeting with the MSBA on July 5th at 11. It's a Zoom meeting, so I'll be attending, as well as some other folks on the subcommittee, and representatives from town, and Drs. Mealy and Gilligan as well. So I think that's when we'll really start kind of the process. And in prep, they sent us, I think, a 58-page document. So I'm pretty excited to spend my 4th of July reading that in
Beach
preparation.
read.
Modula 2 training, right?
What?
It's a beach read.
Beach read, yeah,
That's right.
indeed.
Make sure it's on like the pocket sleeve, so you don't get any sand on it.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. Anything else on Kittredge? Hearing none. Old business. Do we have any?
There's none.
There's none. That was easy. New business,
Also none.
public comments. Crickets. And you didn't receive any texts, I take it,
Correct.
or
Yep.
emails?
Yep.
Okay. So I guess, before we adjourn though, first of all, thank you for making me your chair. I'll endeavor to do the best I can to be a good facilitator and organizer, which is my understanding of what the role really is. I'm looking forward to working with my new colleagues, or I guess we're old colleagues now. Just a question, in terms of new business, what constitutes new business wouldn't be an agenda item? I'm a little confused by that. In other words, if somebody brings something new that they want to add onto the agenda, then it becomes an agenda item, right? So what would make it new business versus just a new item on the agenda? Does that question make any sense?
I think so.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, I mean, it's typically something you're gonna vote on, right? Like,
Right.
we need approval. The school committee conducts the business of the schools, and there's certain things every year that we're required to do.
Right.
And there are things that come up for the agenda.
So things that need to be voted on.
Not necessarily, though. I mean,
Well,
there,
yeah.
and it could be in part the chair's report, but the chair
Right.
sets the agenda. And so, like, if you were to say, for example, I want an update on vaping at the high school, right? What's the status? What are we doing? I'm hearing a lot of stuff, right? So you might request that there be a presentation for that, right? And so that would be kind of, as part of the agenda meeting, to kind of put that on the agenda. So that would be there.
An
but
agenda item, right?
It's an agenda item probably under the chair or the superintendent's report, depending on kind of what it is and what makes sense. But new and old business are typically things we're gonna vote on. They're not quote-unquote informational.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So it becomes it gets into the category of new business if it's something that needs a vote, generally.
First,
In general.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
first reads, right?
What?
Typic- Like
Yeah,
first
first
reads.
reads,
First reads and
first
votes.
reads
Yes.
would be new,
Yeah.
second reads are
Oh, okay.
old.
Policy,
Yeah.
budget,
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
superintendent evaluation, all that stuff that
Okay.
you've kind of
Okay.
been through this year.
Yeah, all right. It just struck me like, well, why would there ever be new business? It would always be an agenda item, but I guess if it's a new thing that's gonna require a vote ultimately, that's the category it should go.
to Norway.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's it. I just had a quick procedural question. Obviously, I'm gonna need some help getting organized here. All right, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
Do we need to call out names or?
Do I
so
need
that
to do roll
since
calls
it's-
for things like that? I guess.
That part always confused me. There's some that we do and some we don't, and I just always went on the caution of,
All right,
yeah.
so
Do it either way.
We'll do a roll call.
Yes.
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 And I'll vote yes, so 5-0 to adjourn.